I'm Sheila, and here are 5 stories from my book, Paranormal Warwickshire, written under the pen name S.C. Skillman. The Saxon Mill is a beautiful gastropub just upriver from the gaunt Gothic ruin of Guy's Cliff House. Many people who stand at the Saxon Mill and gaze across the River Avon to those ruins claims to have seen a vision of a falling woman. One day, Michael was taking his little granddaughter, Maddie, aged 9, along the riverside path opposite the manor house. They stopped to gaze at that ruin, and little Maddie said, "There's a woman up there. She's reading." And then she said, "And she's falling." And Maddie was quite upset, and her grandfather didn't know what to say. All he could think of to say to her was, "But nobody lives there anymore." The Royal Shakespeare Theatre in Stratford-upon-Avon is, in common with many theatres in the country, said to be haunted. One day, a few years ago, Pippa, who was a retailing merchandiser at the time, went to open the Swan Gallery early in the morning. Then she was just looking at one of the theatre costumes and she felt rather cold, but nothing else. A little later, her colleague said, "I was surprised to see a member of the public there with you so early in the morning." Pippa said, "There was nobody there with me." And her colleague said, "Oh yes, there was. There was a lady in a long grey dress, and she was standing right behind you." Coton Court is a beautiful Tudor manor house and for many centuries the home of the intensely Catholic Throckmorton family. They have in their grounds 2 churches, the Anglican Church of St. Peter's and the later Catholic Church. One day, one bank holiday Monday in 2014, a visitor called Karen stepped into the graveyard at St. Peter's Church. She turned aside, she saw a lady standing by a derelict-looking gravestone. This lady was wearing a goldy brown dress and blue, and she had long dark hair, and she was looking down at the grave in dismay, so it seemed to Karen. And Karen thought she was a National Trust historical reenactor. She was standing there for 15 seconds, she thought, and then she disappeared. A little later, Karen went into the house. She claimed to me that she had never been into Coton Court before. She saw a portrait on the wall. Young Lucy Throckmorton, whose portrait was painted in the year 1700, was standing there in this portrait with a goldy dress and a blue stole. And Karen looked at this portrait and she thought, "That is the lady I saw in the graveyard." In Kenilworth Castle there are of course numerous phantoms, but one which is regularly reported is a young stable boy in the stables. Visitors have reported seeing this young boy, probably from about the 1600s, dressed in ragged clothes within the stables. He's seen elsewhere as well. He's seen lurking around, wandering around the ruins. Also, in Leicester's Gatehouse, quite a few spooky events are reported, and one of these is the sound of a young child, and all she says is, "Where's my daddy?" Stoneleigh Abbey is a beautiful residence now, and it was for many years the home of the Barons Lee. Chandos Lee was the first Baron of the second creation, and he was a poet, a romantic poet, and he loved the library, and he spent many hours in it writing his romantic poetry. The present history guide, Paul, told me this story. He was giving the very first tour he ever gave when the door handle began to rattle violently. He said 20 people were on his tour and they heard it. And he shouted, "Stop!" And then he turned to the manager and he said, "You're going to have to tell them not to do that because it's spoiling my tour." And the manager said, "I can't, I'm afraid. There is no door on the other side. The wall was bricked up 100 years ago."